The courtroom was
The
quiet,
court finds you
but not
guilty.
peaceful.
No, Your Honor, please.
People were sitting on
Sentence
hard
will be
wooden
passed. Court is
benches.
adjourned.
Some are looking at their phones. Some are whispering. Some are already bored. To them, it looked like just another normal court day. But for the young black woman standing near the front, this was not a normal day. This was the day her life could change. She stood straight. Her hands were calm. Her face was serious, but soft. She was not wearing expensive clothes. No gold. No big bag. Just simple black shoes, a clean jacket, and a small notebook in her hand. Many people in the room looked at her and judged her in silence. Some thought she was poor. Some thought she was scared. Some thought she did not belong there. The judge walked in. He was an older white man with gray hair and tired eyes. He sat down slowly and looked around the room. When his eyes landed on the young woman, he paused for a second. Then he gave a small smirk. Not a smile, a smirk. He looked at her file. He looked at her name. Then he looked back at her face. "Miss," the judge said in a dry voice, "please step forward." She stepped forward calmly. The judge looked at her up and down. "Is English your first language?" he asked. The question was simple, but the tone was not. Some people in the room looked at each other. A few small laughs came from the back benches. The young woman felt the eyes on her. She felt the weight. She had felt it many times before in her life. She did not get angry. She did not look away. She just answered. "No, Your Honor," she said. Her voice was soft, but clear. "It is not." The judge raised one eyebrow. "I can hear your accent," he said. "This court needs clear English. We cannot waste time today." More quiet laughs. Her lawyer shifted in his seat. He looked nervous. He wanted to speak, but he stayed quiet. The woman took a small breath. She had waited her whole life for moments like this. Not to fight, but to prove. She looked at the judge and said something that made the room freeze. "Your Honor," she said, "I speak 9 languages." For 1 second, the room was silent. Then, the judge laughed. Not a small laugh. A loud laugh. Some people joined him. The judge shook his head. "9 languages?" he said. "This is not a comedy show, Mississippi." The laughter grew. The young woman stood still. Her face did not change. Inside, her heart was beating fast. Not from fear, from memory. She remembered teachers who laughed. She remembered kids who copied her accent. She remembered people who thought she was stupid. She remembered every single time someone did not believe in her. The judge waved his hand. "This court has real matters," he said. "Please answer serious questions only." She swallowed. "I'm serious," she said. The judge leaned back in his chair. "Then prove it," he said with a short smile. "But for now, sit. We will continue." Her lawyer leaned closer to her. "Please," he whispered, "just stay quiet. This judge does not like being challenged." She nodded slowly, but her eyes stayed on the judge. The case continued. Big lawyers talked. Long words filled the room. Foreign names, foreign companies, foreign papers. The judge listened to them carefully. He nodded at them. He trusted them. No one looked at the young woman anymore. To them, she was invisible, but she was listening. Every word, every accent, every small mistake. She heard something, something small, a word that did not match. Her eyes narrowed just a little. Her fingers held the notebook tighter. She leaned toward her lawyer and whispered, "They are lying." Her lawyer looked confused. "What?" he whispered back. "They're using the wrong words," she said. "They're changing the meaning." He shook his head. "You are nervous," he said softly. "Please relax." She sat back, but she did not relax. Her mind was sharp. Her memory was clear. Her heart was ready. The judge called for a short break. People stood up. Some stretched. Some laughed again. Some walked past her and looked at her like she was nothing. One man whispered to another, loud enough for her to hear. "She said 9 languages," he said, laughing. "You're right." Her hands shook for 1 second. Then they became still again. She leaned close to her lawyer. "They will regret laughing at me," she whispered. Her lawyer looked at her face. For the first time, he saw something different. Not fear, not weakness. Strength. Cold. Quiet. Strong. The judge walked back in and hit the small hammer. "Let's continue," he said. "This joke of a case needs to move faster." The young woman lifted her head. Her eyes were steady. Her voice stayed inside her. For now, but not for long. Because soon, the whole room would learn something they would never forget. The young woman sat on a hard bench during the court break. The noise in the courtroom faded. Voices became soft. Her eyes stared forward, but her mind was far away. She was no longer in the courtroom. She was back in her childhood, back to a small, noisy apartment, back to thin walls, back to a home where money was always short, but love was strong. Her mother used to wake her up early. "Wake up, baby," her mother would say softly. "School is waiting." Her mother spoke with a heavy accent. People outside did not always understand her. Some people laughed. Some people looked down on her. But to the young girl, her mother's voice was strong. It was the voice of survival. At school, things were different. The little girl tried to read out loud in class. Her words came out slow. Her accent showed. The room became quiet. Then someone laughed. Then another. The teacher did not laugh. But the teacher did not help either. "Speak clearer," the teacher said. "Try harder." The girl tried. She always tried. But trying was never enough for them. Kids copied her voice. Kids repeated her words in a funny way. Kids called her slow. She went home many days with her head down. One night, she sat at the small kitchen table with her mother. Her school paper was in front of her. Red marks. Low grades. The girl did not cry. She just stared at the paper. Her mother looked at it. Then she looked at her daughter. "They do not see you," her mother said. "What do you mean?" the girl asked. "They hear your voice," her mother said. "But they do not hear your mind." The girl did not understand at first. Her mother went to a small box and pulled out old books. Books in different languages. Some are broken. Some are missing pages. "Where did these come from?" the girl asked. Her mother smiled a little. "From my life," she said. "From my travels. From my struggles." Her mother sat next to her. "People think language is weakness," her mother said. "But language is power." She opened one book. "This is French," she said. She opened another. "This is Spanish." Another. "This is Arabic." The girl's eyes grew wide. "You know all these?" she asked. Her mother nodded. "Not perfect," she said, "but enough to survive." That night, something changed. The girl started to learn. Not for school. Not for grades. For herself. She listened to radio stations in different languages. She watched videos late at night with subtitles. She repeated words quietly, so no one could hear her. At school, she stayed quiet. She let them think she was slow. She let them think she was small. But at home, her world grew bigger. Each new word felt like a door opening. Each new sentence felt like a new life. Years passed. The girl became a young woman. The laughs did not stop. The looks did not stop. People still judged her by her voice. But now, she had a secret, a strong one. Back in the courtroom, her phone vibrated in her pocket. She looked down. A message. No name. Just a number. The message said, "Today is the day they find out who you really are." Her heart skipped. She stared at the screen. Who sent this? How do they know? She did not reply. She locked the phone. Her hands felt cold. Her chest felt tight. The past and the present mixed inside her. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. "Knowledge is something no one can take from you." The judge's laughter echoed too. The people's whispers. The looks. The disrespect. She stood up slowly when the break ended. Her back was straight. Her face was calm. But inside, she was on fire. Not with anger. With purpose. She did not come to court to beg. She did not come to court to be small. She came to court to end something. To end the lies. To end the jokes. To end the way people decided her value by her voice. She sat back down. The courtroom noise came back. The judge took his seat. The lawyers took theirs. But something had changed. The young woman was not just waiting anymore. She was ready. Because very soon, they would stop laughing. The judge cleared his throat. "The court is back in session," he said. The room became quiet again. The young woman sat still, her hands folded. On the outside, she looked calm. On the inside, her mind was moving fast. This case was not small. Not all. Most people in the room did not understand that. They thought it was just another contract problem. Just papers. Just money. Just rich people arguing. But for her, it was much more. The case was about a large international deal. A deal between companies from different countries. Different languages. Different laws. Different meanings. One small word could change everything. One wrong sentence could destroy lives. The main lawyer for the big company stood up. He wore a perfect suit. His voice was smooth. He spoke with confidence. Our client followed the contract, he said. Any losses are not our responsibility. He handed papers to the judge. The judge nodded. He trusted the papers. He trusted the man in the suit. The young woman watched carefully. She listened, not just to the English, but to the rhythm, the small pauses, the hidden meanings. She heard something again. Another wrong word. Another wrong meaning. Her fingers tightened. This was not a mistake. This was planned. The other lawyer stood up next. He looked nervous. He cleared his throat. There were translation issues, he said. The contract in the other language was different. The judge frowned. So, you're blaming translators? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor, the lawyer said. They cause confusion. The room whispered. The judge sighed. This is why we use official translators, he said. To avoid this mess. The young woman felt her chest grow heavy. She knew the truth. This was not about bad translators. This was about someone using language as a weapon. Someone hiding behind words. Someone changing meaning on purpose. She leaned closer to her lawyer. They planned this, she whispered. They used two meanings on purpose. Her lawyer looked tired. This is too big, he whispered back. We don't have proof. She looked at him. I'm the proof, she said quietly. He did not answer. The judge raised his hand. I will call in certified translators, he said. We will review the original contract. The big company lawyer smiled. A small, confident smile, like he already knew the ending. The young woman saw it. That smile told her everything. He was not scared, because he thought no one in this room could truly understand. No one except her. The judge called for the first translator. A middle-aged man walked in. He introduced himself. He began to read the foreign contract out loud. The courtroom listened. The words sounded correct. The sentences sounded clean. But they were wrong. Not fully wrong. Just wrong enough. The young woman closed her eyes for a second. She saw her mother's books. She heard the old radio voices. She remembered every night she stayed up learning. She opened her eyes. Her heart beat slow and strong. She raised her hand. The judge looked surprised. Yes, he said. She stood. There's a problem with that sentence, she said. The room turned to her. The translator stopped. The judge frowned. What problem, he asked. That word, she said. It does not mean what he said. The translator looked offended. I'm certified, he said. I know this language. She looked at him. So do I, she said softly. The judge raised an eyebrow. You again, he said. Yes, Your Honor, she said. That word has two meanings. In this contract, it means the other one. The room became quiet. The big company lawyer shifted in his seat. The judge leaned forward. What is the other meaning? The judge asked. She took a breath. It means responsibility, she said. Not permission. The translator froze. The judge looked at the paper again. The big company lawyer stood up fast. This is ridiculous, he said. She is not an expert. The young woman did not look at him. She looked at the judge. I grew up with this language, she said. I hear the difference. He is using the wrong meaning. The judge did not speak. For the first time, he looked unsure. The room held its breath. The young woman felt every eye on her. She did not feel small anymore. She felt ready. The judge slowly said, Bring in another translator. The big company lawyer's smile was gone. The second translator was called. The young woman sat back down. Her heart was beating fast now. Not from fear. From knowing. This was the crack. The first crack in their perfect story. She looked at her hands. They were steady. She whispered to herself, so low no one could hear. This is only the beginning. Because she knew something no one else did. One word was enough to break everything. And she knew many words. Many languages. Many truths. And very soon, the whole courtroom would feel it. The second translator walked into the courtroom with a confident step. He wore glasses and carried a thick folder. He looked calm. He looked sure of himself. The judge nodded at him. Please read the same section, the judge said. The young woman sat still. Her back was straight. Her eyes were focused. The big company lawyer leaned back in his chair, trying to look relaxed. But his fingers tapped on the table. Fast. The second translator began to read. His voice was smooth. Clear. Professional. The courtroom listened carefully. The judge nodded slowly. It sounded correct. To most people. But not to her. The young woman's eyes narrowed. She heard again. Not one mistake. Two. Small. Hidden. But dangerous. She raised her hand. The room gasped softly. Again. The judge looked tired. Yes, miss, he said. What is it now? She stood up slowly. That sentence is also wrong, she said. A few people shook their heads. The big company lawyer smiled slightly. The translator looked annoyed. I'm also certified, he said. There is no mistake. The young woman did not raise her voice. She did not argue. She simply said, please let me speak in the original language. The room froze. The judge blinked. You want to speak it? He asked. Yes, Your Honor, she said. The judge paused. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to laugh again. But something stopped him. Her eyes. They were not joking. Go ahead, the judge said slowly. The young woman took one step forward. She closed her eyes for half a second. Then she spoke. The words came out smooth. Strong. Natural. The language filled the courtroom. It was beautiful. Clear. Perfect. The translator's face changed. His confidence faded. People leaned forward. The judge sat up straighter. She stopped speaking and looked at the translator. Now you translate, she said calmly. The translator opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at the paper, then at her, then at the judge. He tried. His voice was weaker now. He translated, but he changed the meaning again. The young woman shook her head slowly. That is not what I said, she said. The room was silent. So silent you could hear breathing. She spoke again in the foreign language. This time, slower, clearer. She then translated herself. In this sentence, she said, the company accepts full responsibility. Not partial. Full. The big company lawyer stood up fast. This is unacceptable, he shouted. She is not an official translator. The judge raised his hand. Sit down, the judge said sharply. The room froze. The lawyer sat. The judge looked at the young woman. How do you know this language so well? He asked. She met his eyes. I lived it, she said. The judge looked at the second translator. Is she correct? The judge asked. The translator swallowed. Yes, he said quietly. Her grammar is perfect. A wave of shock moved through the room. Whispers started. The judge looked back at the young woman. Continue, he said. She nodded. She pointed to another line. And here, she said, this word means deadline, not suggestion. She spoke it again in the original language, then translated it again. This means they missed the deadline. That changes everything. The big company lawyer's face went pale. Sweat formed on his forehead. The judge leaned forward. This is serious, the judge said. The courtroom felt heavy. The young woman kept going, line by line, word by word. She did not rush. She did not show off. She was calm, precise, strong. Each correction was like a hammer. Each truth hit harder. People stopped whispering. They just stared. The judge stopped taking notes. He just watched her. For the first time, he was not looking down at her. He was looking up to her. She finished. The room stayed silent. The judge cleared his throat. How many languages did you say you speak? He asked slowly. 9, she said. The judge nodded once. Not in doubt. In respect. The big company lawyer stood again. This is unfair, he said. We need time. The judge looked at him coldly. You had time, the judge said. She just showed us the truth. The young woman sat back down. Her heart was beating fast. Not from fear. From power. From knowing. She had cracked the wall. But the wall was not fully down yet. She felt it. This was just the first shock. The first wave. The people who laughed were quiet now. The people who doubted were watching now. The judge who mocked was thinking now. But something bigger was coming. Something that would not just shock them. Something that would destroy the lies completely. The young woman looked at her hands. Then she looked up. Her eyes were steady. Because she knew they had only seen one language. They had not seen all 9, that the courtroom did not feel like a courtroom anymore. It felt like a stage. Every eye was on the young woman. Not with laughter. Not with doubt. With focus. With tension. The judge looked at the papers again. Then he looked at her. You corrected 2 translators, he said slowly. That is not normal. The young woman stood. I did not come here to impress anyone, she said. I came here because the truth is being hidden. The big company lawyer stood up quickly. This is turning into a show, he said. My client demands a full review with official experts. The judge raised his hand. You will get your chance, the judge said. But right now, I want clarity. He turned to the young woman. You said you speak 9 languages, he said. That is a big claim. Yes, Your Honor, she said. The judge looked at the clerk. Bring in all available language files for this case, he said. The clerk hurried out. The room buzzed with whispers. People leaned closer. Phones were put away. No one wanted to miss what came next. The clerk returned with a stack of folders. Different countries. Different languages. The judge opened the first. This one is in Spanish, he said. The young woman nodded. The judge pointed to a paragraph. Read, he said. She did not hesitate. She read. Her Spanish was smooth. Natural. Clear. Some people in the room gasped quietly. The judge nodded. Then he turned the page. This one is French, he said. She switched. No pause. No fear. French flowed out of her mouth like music. The second translator lowered his head. The big company lawyer shifted in his seat. The judge's face changed. This one is Arabic, he said next. She spoke Arabic. Perfect tone. Perfect rhythm. The room was frozen. The judge looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. German, he said. She answered in German. Portuguese. She switched again. Italian. Again. Mandarin. This time the room gasped loudly. Her Mandarin was clear. Strong. Real. The judge slowly stood up. Not in anger. In shock. The big company lawyer's hands started to shake. Enough, he said. This is not fair. The judge ignored him. How many is that? The judge asked quietly. It's so far, she said. The judge swallowed. One more, he said. The young woman looked at him. Swahili, she said softly. She spoke. The room broke. People whispered loudly now. Some stood up. Some shook their heads. Some smiled in disbelief. The judge sat back down slowly. His face was serious. No jokes. No esmirks. Only respect. You were telling the truth, the judge said. Yes, Your Honor, she said. The judge looked at the big company lawyer. Do you still believe this is a joke? He asked. The lawyer could not answer. Sweat rolled down his temple. The judge turned back to the young woman. Explain, the judge said. Why do these translations matter so much? She took a breath. These contracts were written to confuse, she said. Different words. Different meanings. So one side could steal without looking guilty. She pointed to one page. In this language, she said, this word means temporary. In the English version, they wrote permanent. That changes the deal. She pointed to another. In this one, she said, this phrase means shared risk. They translated it as no responsibility. That is a lie. Each sentence hit like a hammer. The courtroom felt heavy. The judge's voice was low. This is fraud, he said. The big company lawyer stood up. We need a recess, he said fast. My client needs to review. No, the judge said sharply. You had time to plan. She just destroyed your plan. The young woman stood there. Not smiling. Not proud. Just strong. The judge looked at her. You could have stayed quiet, he said. Why didn't you? She looked around the room. At the people who laughed. At the people who judged. At the people who doubted. Because silence protects lies, she said. And I am done being silent. The room went quiet again. Not empty. Heavy. Powerful. The judge nodded slowly. For the record, he said, this court recognizes her as a key language witness. The big company lawyer dropped back into his chair. Defeated. The young woman sat down. Her heart was beating fast. Not from fear. From release. From truth. But she knew this was not the end. This was only the moment the mask fell. Now came the consequences. Now came the people who would be exposed. Now came the part that would change everything. She looked forward. Her eyes calm. Her voice inside her steady. Because after 9 languages, there were no more places for lies to hide. The courtroom felt different now. Not loud. Not careless. Heavy. Serious. Every laugh from before felt far away. The judge sat quietly for a long moment. He looked at the papers. Then he looked at the young woman. His face was not proud anymore. It was tired. Thoughtful. For the first time, he looked like a man who realized he had made a mistake. The big company lawyer stood up again. Your Honor, he said, trying to sound calm. This is being taken out of context. My client is being treated unfairly. The judge raised his hand slowly. No, the judge said. What is unfair is what I allowed to happen in this courtroom. The room froze. Everyone turned to the judge. The young woman lifted her head slightly. The judge took a deep breath. I laughed, the judge said. I doubted. I judged. And I was wrong. A wave of shock moved through the room. Judges did not say things like that. Not in public. Not on record. The big company lawyer opened his mouth. The judge stopped him. Sit down, the judge said firmly. The lawyer sat. The judge turned to the young woman. I owe you an apology, the judge said. Not later. Now. The room went silent. The young woman did not smile. She did not speak. She simply listened. I treated you with disrespect, the judge said. I made a joke out of your words. That was wrong. People in the courtroom shifted in their seats. Some looked down. Some looked ashamed. The judge continued. This court is about truth. And I almost let pride block the truth. He turned to the clerk. Put this on the record, he said. The court recognizes its error. The clerk typed quickly. The big company lawyer looked pale. This is turning into a personal issue, he said. We are here about contracts, not feelings. The judge's eyes turned cold. This is about justice, the judge said. And justice starts with respect. The judge stood up, not in anger, in authority. We will now review every version of this contract, the judge said, with independent experts, not hired by either side. The big company lawyer stood up fast. That will take weeks, he said. My client will suffer losses. The judge looked at him. Your client has been hiding behind language, the judge said. Now they will face it. The young woman watched. She felt something in her chest. Not victory. Release. The judge pointed to one section. Explain this part again, he said. She did. Slowly. Clear. The judge listened. So did everyone else. The judge's face grew more serious with each explanation. Then something changed. A new document was brought in. A hidden email. The clerk read the title out loud. Internal message regarding translation strategy. The big company lawyer froze. The room leaned forward. The judge's eyes narrowed. Read it, the judge said. The clerk read. The message talked about using confusing language. About using double meanings. About making sure the other side would misunderstand. About winning through words, not law. Gasps filled the room. The big company lawyer stood up, shaking. That email is out of context, he said. The judge slammed the small hammer. Enough, the judge said. His voice was strong, cold, final. This is not confusion, the judge said. This is deception. The room felt like it stopped breathing. The judge looked at the young woman. You did not just help your case, he said. You protected this court from being used. She nodded slowly. That is why I came, she said. The judge took off his glasses. I laughed at you, he said again. And because of that, I almost laughed at justice. His voice was low now. Not for the room. For himself. I will not make that mistake again, he said. The big company lawyer sat down slowly. Defeated. Exposed. The people who laughed before did not laugh now. They looked at the young woman differently. Not as someone small. As someone strong. As someone who changed the room. The judge turned to the courtroom. Let this be clear, he said. Accent is not intelligence. Appearance is not truth. Respect is not optional. Silence followed. Heavy. Deep. The young woman felt her throat tighten. Not from fear. From emotion. From years of being unheard. From years of being judged. And now, from being seen. But she knew one more moment was coming. One more moment that would close this story. Not with anger. Not with pride. With power. With grace. With something the courtroom would remember forever. The courtroom was silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from boredom. The kind that comes when something important has just happened. The judge sat back in his chair. The big company lawyers were quiet. The papers on the table felt heavier than before. The young woman sat still. Her hands were folded. Her breathing was slow. For the first time in many years, she did not feel small in a room like this. She felt seen. The judge looked at the final documents. Then he looked up. This court has seen enough, the judge said. The evidence is clear. The big company lawyer stood slowly. His voice was weak now. Your Honor, he said, My client requests a settlement. The judge shook his head. No, the judge said. This is bigger than a settlement. The room leaned in. This case will move forward with full investigation, the judge said. Fraud charges will be considered. A quiet shock moved through the courtroom. The big company lawyer sat back down. Defeated. The young woman closed her eyes for 1 second. Not in joy, in relief. Years of pressure slowly left her chest. The judge turned to her. You changed this case, the judge said. Not just with language, with courage. She stood, not to show power, to show respect. I did not come to fight, she said. I came to be heard. The judge nodded. You were heard, he said. The courtroom stayed quiet. Then the judge did something unexpected. He stood up, fully, not just from his chair, but as a man. I want to say something to this court, the judge said. Everyone listened. I laughed earlier, he said. Not because of humor, but because of ignorance. People shifted in their seats. I judged a woman by her voice, he said. By her accent. By how she looked. He paused. And I was wrong. The young woman felt her eyes burn. Not with tears yet. With memory. I want this to be on the record, the judge said. Respect is not optional in this courtroom. Ever. The clerk typed. Every word. The judge looked at the young woman again. Before we close, the judge said, Is there anything you would like to say? The room held its breath. The young woman stood. Slow. Calm. She looked around the room. At the people who laughed. At the people who whispered. At the people who doubted. She did not look angry. She looked strong. She spoke softly. When I was a child, she said, people laughed at my voice. The room listened. They said my accent meant I was less, she continued. They said my words were wrong. They never asked what my mind held. Some people looked down. She took a breath. My mother told me something, she said. She said, never let anyone decide your value for you. The judge listened closely. The room was still. I learned languages, she said. Not to be better than others, but to survive. To be heard. To protect myself. Her voice shook just a little. But today, she said, I did not speak 9 languages to impress anyone. She looked at the judge. I spoke so the truth could live. Silence. Deep. Powerful. Then she said the line that changed everything. Never judge a voice, she said. Listen to the mind. The judge did not move. He could not. For a moment, he was truly speechless. Then slowly he nodded. The courtroom did not clap. This was not a show, but many people wiped their eyes. The judge banged the hammer softly. This court is adjourned, he said. People stood, not rushing, not laughing. They looked at the young woman with new eyes. With respect, with understanding. Some wanted to speak to her. Some wanted to apologize. But she walked slowly toward the door. Her lawyer walked beside her. You changed something today, he said quietly. She shook her head. No, she said. I just showed what was already there. Outside the courtroom, light filled the hallway. Her phone buzzed. A message from the same unknown number. It said, I told you. Today they would see you. She smiled softly. For her mother. For the little girl who was laughed at. For every person who was judged by their voice. She walked forward. Not angry. Not loud. Strong. Seen. Heard. And finally, respected.